What's up, guys? So it's been a minute since I've done a tutorial on how to make a wig. Today I'm going to bring you something a little bit different. We're going to work with a 2x6 lace closure and make a gorgeous lace closure wig. Now y'all, when I say this hair is so fire, this hair is so fire. It's a 2022-24 Brazilian body wave, and if this is a close-up of the gorgeous pre-parted 2x6 lace closure that I was telling you guys about, we're going to be using the hot glue gun method to go ahead and make this wig. Here I'm showing you that the closure is pre-parted, so you really don't need to bleach the knots because where that part is, there are no knots. So for starters, you want to line that closure up as close to the center as possible. You're going to take it to the very front and then ever so slightly pull it like slightly in front. Imagine parting out your baby hair. That's the amount of hair that you want to put in front of the cap. The cap we're using is a mesh dome cap, and again, you don't want to go too far in front of the cap. I kind of just do it like a slither in front, if that makes any sense. And then once the wig is done, it's going to line up perfectly. I don't even know if that makes any sense, but this works for me. And even if it comes in front, it's just going to come in front of the cap just exactly where you make that baby hair. So I'm going to line it up. I'm going to secure with T-pins. I normally will use about 4 so that it lays super flat and I'm able to sew and everything is laying in place. So for this case, I did braid the closure down so I can go ahead and sew and get as much of the hair out of the way. I use no special technique for my sewing. I literally just sew. Now I do go ahead and separate where the closure curves, if that makes any sense. I've had one bad experience where I sewed the closure all the way around and it was a 4x4. By the time I made my wig and put it on, the closure kind of like bulked up so it didn't lay flat. Completely traumatized. It only happened to me once. I've had plenty of times where I've sewn the closure all the way around and it worked fine. But just from that one bad experience, I've always, moving forward, cut the thread where the closure curves. So in this particular situation, you have pretty much 3 sections. So I, sewed on the first side or the left side. I cut and restarted the, needle and thread. I sewed the back. I cut, started the fresh needle and thread, and then I did the opposite side. I'm getting a little bit tongue twisted explaining this. I don't know why, but hopefully that makes sense. So that way, whenever you put the wig on your head, if it has to stretch, if it's, your head is smaller, no matter who puts the wig on, the closure will conform to the head and lay flat, opposed to if it went around all the way with one stitch, it pretty much has that opportunity to buckle if put on the wrong head. Hopefully that makes sense. Make sure that every time you, cut your thread, you secure it and knot it very well so that you don't have to worry about it coming up. Again, you guys can see I used no professional technique. This technique works for me just fine and everything is laying super flat. Nothing is out of place. That closure in the front lays perfectly in the front and I have no mistakes. Now I have that T-pin right there and I'm just going to leave it right there. I kind of just leave it there so it's handy. It works as my third hand. Sometimes you have your track in hand and you need an extra hand and it just, you're able to pin the track wherever you need it. So I kind of was pointing downwards on the cap and I pretty much was showing you that's kind of my guide of where my imaginary ear is. Instead of going all the way around with my tracks, I'm kind of going to just start them in the back. I'm going to use my imaginary guide of where my ear will be, and I'm pretty much going to make it so that the tracks in the back kind of will go behind the ear. Now, you can put on the cap before you start your wig and kind of just take white chalk and go ahead and mark where your ear is going to be so that it's more accurate, but this works just fine for me. There's this little piece on the front of the hot glue gun. All the ones I've ever used had that piece and I kind of just use that to press the glue in. The glue is extremely hot, so if I don't use that piece, I'll use the back of my nail, but it definitely burns, so I would recommend using that piece to kind of press it in because you want to make sure that your track and your glue is all melted in so it makes a nice thick sandwich, opposed to the glue just sitting on top of the track and everything just not, meshing that well. So I'm going to show every single track. I did not cut out anything. I tried to leave everything in because every time I do this, you guys will tell me I left in an important part. And I promise you I've never deleted an important part. Anything that I've ever cut out in a previous hair tutorial regarding making a wig was just literally repetitive, doing the same thing over and over and over. You know what I mean? So here we're still going around in the back. I did start off with a 24-inch bundle. Also, I forgot to mention a very important part. I'm using a small glue gun, and I also have a large one. I just find the smaller one is easier to maneuver, but I have both and I use them both just as much as the other. So if you're confused on which one to get, the smaller one again is easier to maneuver and to store. The bigger one obviously spills out more glue, and it gets a lot bit hotter actually than the smaller one in my opinion. And I'm using black glue sticks so that you won't see the appearance of all that white glue as much as you do in previous tutorials. Now I still use the clear glue sticks as well, but I kind of just go back and forth. But again, the black glue sticks just make less of a mess. Now here I'm showing you when I cut a track, I kind of pinch the end and I kind of just pull that excess hair out. Whenever you cut a track, you're kind of unwinding the hair, so it's going to cause a lot of shedding. So I kind of like to pull at or tug at the tip just to make sure I kind of pull off that excess shedding so I don't have to worry about the hair shedding once the wig is done and I'm walking around trying to be fabulous. And as you guys can see, with every track, I go ahead and I make sure I press it in. That's key to me because I don't want these tracks lifting or falling out. A lot of times I get questions about how long these wigs last. Honestly, I can't say. I've worn a hot glue gun wig for like 3 months straight and not really had many problems. You may find here and there that one track may lift. You just put it back on your mannequin head and just kind of re-glue it down. Whenever you have dry glue and then you put fresh hot glue on top, it kind of melts that dry glue, so it kind of is like it works in your favor to, you know, touch up here and there. But I've also dyed hair on this channel. If you've been following me for a while, you know that. Oh, I'm just rambling. This is the last piece of the 24-inch. I did not want to get rid of it, so I just kind of put it at the back center. And you guys can see it works fine. You want the weight or the thickness to be in the back center and not necessarily in the front, so that it just looks a little bit more natural. Now I'm only working with 3 bundles of hair, and you're going to see how I run out a little bit in the front and I finesse it. But the way my mind thinks with these wigs are, you kind of want it to be super full in the back. You want it to be more closer together in the back and nice and flowy in the front, maybe a little bit less thin. But of course, if your preference is to have it full all over, I definitely would recommend, you know, using more hair. So because I had that one track in the back and it sat in the center, I just decided to go off of that and just kind of go around that and just gradiently get my tracks longer and longer. Now again, I'm doing this because I want the weight in the back. I don't want to put the tracks from like the end of the cap to the end of the cap, because that's going to make the hair evenly distributed, and in a way it's going to make it heavier on the sides. Again, we have that imaginary ear on the side, and you kind of don't want your wig to be super full where your ear is or where your sideburns is. It's definitely not necessary in this case. There are cases, like again, where you want your wig to be super full, super voluminous, super Beyonce, and that works too. But this is just going to be like a normal everyday wig. We don't want it that full in those areas, which is why we kept the tracks shorter right there. Now, as you guys can see, I'm not cutting any clips out. You guys can see every track that's laid. I did kind of cut out like some of the like laying the glue or the measuring, but you see how every single track is laid. This is where we are so far, and I kind of just like to check my work, and everything seems to be laying flat. What you guys see is crimped is just the texture of the hair or how it is, you know, currently crimped, but the actual wig lays super flat. Now we're going, you know, cap to cap again. We've worked our way around, and at this point I kind of feel good. I feel confident, like I have enough hair. That was wrong. Whenever you are doing a wig, always purchase 4 bundles of hair if you're going to do your tracks close together. As you guys can see, I'm not necessarily stacking the tracks so close that they're going to like be bulky, but I'm also not necessarily leaving space, which is typically how I like to do my wigs. And in this case, 3 bundles was just not enough. This is my last track, and at this point I kind of felt like I had enough. So I laid a track all the way around from one end of the cap to the other. I kind of realized, hey, this might not be enough. So let's go ahead and add 2 tracks around the closure, just so that when I take the hair down, you can't see anything and it looks full. This worked in my favor so much. Definitely, if you're going to be into wig making and styling hair, sometimes you have to learn the art of finesse. So I'm going around with this track, and I'm just going to go ahead and lay it as flat as possible. And you guys are going to see, unfortunately, I ran out of hair. And this hasn't happened to me in years. Now, whenever a company wants to send hair, I always get 4 bundles. A lot of the times I will end up with a whole extra bundle, but I don't like to play by chance, and in this case I'm reminded why I don't. So I realized, okay, let's put 1 more down so that everything will be seamless. So I'm just gonna like gather this up, put it into a bun, and lay 1 more track. Now also, I have a shower cap underneath to protect my wig head. Don't do this because the wig head and the glue are going to, the glue and the shower cap are not going to pull apart seamlessly in every case. When I took this one out, the shower cap, it came out, but it left little spots of pieces everywhere. If you're going to do this, do something thicker, like a Target bag, like a thick bag that's going to be easier to separate the glue once you take it off. Now I laid those 2 tracks, and I literally had enough for 1 more track all the way around, which was perfect so that you cover that back where the back of the 2x6 closure lays, and that worked out. But after that, and there goes my baby making her little cameo, I had literally enough to just like fill in the center right there so that it's not too, empty. And on the other side, now what I always recommend to do is just take a track from the back, not the very back, but like the 2nd or 3rd track from the back, and just use that to fill in, and you're good to go. In this case, I didn't necessarily think I needed to, because once I let the hair down, you actually couldn't see anything, so it was perfect. But definitely go back and just for, comfort's sake, and make sure that you add a track. But as you guys can see, I'm showing you, you cannot see. The hair was thick enough that you cannot see it at all. Trust me, if it showed, I would have went back and just took a track from the back. And you guys can see how the hair naturally sits and lays. For this to be body wave hair, it's definitely gorgeous, because most body wave hair loses a lot of the texture very, very quickly, and this hair did not lose its texture at all. Everything is flat. Off camera, I did add an elastic band, and the entire wig took me about 45 minutes to 1 hour to make. If you're going to co-wash the hair, I recommend that you do not submerge the hair completely, but I've definitely done it, and my wigs turned out just fine. I feel like the closure wigs are the wigs that you don't necessarily need baby hair. You don't have to really customize it. It's kind of the wig that's meant for kind of beginners, in the sense that you don't have to be an expert at customizing anything. At most, you can definitely bleach the knots. This one did come pre-parted, and you guys can see you get tons of parting space. I believe this is more than 6 because it goes all the way back. But I still wanted to show you guys the back of the cap. If you have your hair braided down professionally, where it's super flat, you definitely will have it to where the back of the wig will lay at your nape if you use the proper wig head. But you guys can see here, I added my elastic band, and it fits super snug. And then this is the wig cap. And for the most part, it fits flat. It's just that I have that bulky bun back there. Okay, so I feel like the big question is, do I love the 2x4 closure or do I hate it? I definitely love it. This is definitely not the last time you'll see it on my channel. I think it's definitely great to have options, as I said before, and it definitely serves the purpose. Like, my wig lays super flat, and I feel like the way the construction of the closure was made did help. Now, you guys did see that I did run out of bundles. I kind of feel like it's right here where I can feel where there's like a little gap. It wasn't a big deal because I made sure that I covered around the closure, but because this was my first time using this type of closure and it went back so far, I kind of used the exact same technique I would use for a 4x4 closure, and that just definitely does not work. So I kind of misjudged what space I had for laying my tracks, and it just seemed like I had more hair than what I did. So you definitely want to get 4 bundles. Even though I did not have enough hair, I definitely was able to just give you the gist and the rundown of the types of closures so you can decide for yourself if this is something that you would ever want to try. The hair fits nicely around my ears. I literally have no complaints about the hair itself or the closure. Again, all I needed was more hair. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this quick one. Absolutely love how flat she lays. I did make her on a mannequin head that fits my head perfectly, so that's why the wig came out so tight and like perfect from my head. So if you want, I can leave it down below, and this is the mannequin head I use. They come in different inches, so you just will take a measuring tape and literally measure around your hair, like where your wigs usually start. Mine is 21, so that's why I have a 21. If yours is 20, I think 21 and 22 are the most common. So yeah, don't forget to check out DYHair777. They did provide this hair for this video, and they are great with the quality and texture of hair. So if you're interested, I have everything linked in the description bar. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.